You're about to listen to a podcast full of wonder, excitement, and discovery. It's time for an adventure through Odyssey.
Whose phone is that?
It's my computer dinging.
Turn off the dinging.
Sorry.
Who's texting you, Will?
I haven't opened this
Yeah, it's a good question.
I haven't opened this computer in a while, so some of my texts are catching up to me. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Adventures Through Odyssey podcast, Odyssey Revisited.
Turn it off!
I'm Will, here with John and Leah. Alrighty, so we're actually going to album 14, Meanwhile in Another Part of Town. The first Odyssey album I think we ever received because our cousins gave it to us, but all the tapes were mixed up, so I think only like 2 of the episodes were actually from this album. Because the Odyssey tapes used to just have the same design on them with the episode title. So...
Wait, which album was this?
Meanwhile in Another Part of Town, album 14.
I thought the one they gave us was the one with Robot Wit.
No, that was the first one like we physically received as a gift.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we ever returned the one they loaned to us. Anyway, hopefully they're not listening.
Not important.
I know. So, we're going to kick this off with Peacemaker. Connie tries to keep Jesse and Donna interested in a project without having them fighting constantly.
Okay, so what was the project again?
They had Compassion Week, so they wanted to do something to help the homeless.
Oh, yeah.
And then they couldn't, decide who should be the leader of their little...
Because
Connie, Jesse, and Donna.
Well, because Connie said she didn't want to do it, and Jesse, for some reason, didn't want Donna to be in charge. So...
Because Jesse was like, Donna's always in charge.
Well, yeah, exactly. So, I actually like the guts, not the guts, but how this episode takes the angle of you shouldn't make someone apologize for something that might actually be true.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not like the Peacemaker thing's a good thing to do. This one always felt kind of weird, though. I don't know. This episode just seems so kind of, plain to me.
I mean, it has one of the weirdest jokes in the history of Odyssey.
Which is...
the lawn mowing scene.
I don't remember that.
I'm blanking.
So, the second time Connie visits Donna to, say, hey, Donna, let's talk about our problems, Donna's mowing the lawn and says, I always run out of gas on my last strip. So she starts the mower after the conversation, and then it dies. See? I knew I was going to run out of gas. And then it just kind of plays like a... moment.
I remember that.
It's not terribly
They needed
funny.
to give the scene stakes.
Well, she could have finished mowing the lawn before she talked to Connie if there was one strip left.
I think they wanted the conversation to be short, and they're like, we can't naturally make it be short without one of the characters seeming rude.
Okay, that's true.
It had to finish quickly. That's probably where it came from. It's still weird, but,
Right. Also, if Donna always runs out of gas on the last strip, does she not refill the gas tank before she starts mowing? Because that's what I always do.
I think...
And otherwise, the Barclays have a huge lawn.
Yeah, because they should be able to get through it with just the one.
Also, group project stress anyone?
I've never had a horrible experience with group projects. Some mediocre ones. Never one where I was like, this is awful. I've known some people who have had that, though.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. The only thing I'll say is, and I know you need to do this so the episode can get the ball rolling, because Connie is probably the oldest, shouldn't she just naturally have taken the leadership? She's probably older by several years, so it's,
Yeah, I would just like to say Connie sounded a lot like Mr. Whitaker in this episode.
Donna even makes a comment about that.
I know, that's why I said that.
Oh, is that your Mr. Whitaker impression?
Yeah. So, I feel like we've spent too long in an episode we don't have that much to say about.
Yeah, so let's get to the crazy next one. I mean, come on, we're all on the edge of our seats for this.
60-something. Bart Rathbone urges Odyssey to celebrate the 60s, but Wit has reasons not to celebrate.
I think it's an interesting episode, and I do think it has an interesting message, but it so came out of focus of the like it's such a focus on the family thing.
Yes, I know what you mean.
They were like, "What? The '60s is popular again? You don't remember the sin in the '60s?" Because like it definitely was like at probably the people working there were about like probably the 50-year-olds who were in charge of Focus on the Family probably were 20 in the '60s when this came out.
Right.
Like in the 20s and like maybe teens. So they remember it and they're like, what? People are like saying the '60s was this great thing now? Like, I'm not saying it's a bad episode. I think it has a point. I wish it maybe had been an overall point about like nostalgia. Like maybe do something other than the '60s and be like, oh, some of the times we kind of say were these great, interesting periods of time. Because I think it is an interesting message. It's just that since it's only, I do think they show a pretty realistic kind of like what did that guy have again? Like what was his?
I think he was just like a drug addict.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was. And here's the thing. I don't think they go crazy with it. Like they don't. Like sometimes they, I think, go a little overboard with some of like this stuff.
Right.
This one I felt like was at least pretty realistic.
Oh yeah. You mean it doesn't have someone dying of AIDS shouting to Wit, "I should have listened to you"?
Yeah, that. But I do like this episode. I just wish it maybe at the end had wrapped up a little more. Like it's not just the '60s; it's all these time periods. Like there's no time period that's fully like good. And like I'm sure they didn't do that because I'm sure there is a time period they look at like super like with a lot of nostalgia. Like, oh, this was such a great time where America or like another country or like the world was a better place.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that probably wasn't always the case. So
Right. Anything else?
Nope.
I mean, Wit's flat out refusal to participate in anything was a little strange, but
Oh.
that's just Wit though.
that is true.
Well, wasn't it like Wit and Tom that weren't participating?
That's a different episode.
Oh.
I mean, this one as well, but there's another episode that definitely talks about that.
Oh, okay.
Alrighty. Moses and the Passover, parts 1 and 2. George Barkley follows his son Jimmy into the Imagination Station. They travel to ancient Egypt's land of Goshen. So, the only thing I remember about this episode is they kind of implied they might have died in the Imagination Station.
What?
So at the end when they get out and George is like, "I couldn't find you, Jimmy, and I was worried about the angel of death because I wasn't sure if you were under the blood." And then what's it? "Well, you were under a different covenant, the blood of Jesus." And to me that's like, wait a minute. Might they have died?
No, that's not what it was implying. They were implying was that he was saved by the blood of Jesus. Look, it was so Wit could explain why they didn't die in the program, okay?
I know.
It's that Wit was being all like cool and smug, like you didn't die because you were saved by Jesus, which is true, but I don't think that's how the Imagination Station works.
Because Wit
I think
had
it's
a
just
massive liability on his hand.
I just think it's programmed in the machine that the kid cannot die. Like whoever's in it, like in the program, cannot end up dying.
Well, right, I'm sure.
Like, oh man, he's about to fall off a cliff. Some random person will come and like tug him off.
That's probably true.
Like I'm sure there's something in there that.
Right. But other than that, it's a good Bible story episode.
Yeah.
You know, I like how we see different angles. It's one of the rare times an adult gets into the Imagination Station.
Besides Abuelita.
Yeah.
Well, Abuelita, Wit has gone in a few times. Eugene. Yeah, okay.
Eugene.
An adult who
Eugene
doesn't
and-
work at Wit's End.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like there was one other.
Dr. Dobson.
Oh, who was it? It was
Ava.
the lawyer, like the sleazy suing
right.
guy. Or was that the Room of Consequence?
Weisel.
Or was that the Room of Consequence?
I think it was the Imagination Station.
I can't remember. It might have been Room of Consequence though.
I remember what episode you're talking about, but
Yeah. I mean, it can kind of go for Room of Consequence too, because it could really be the same thing. It could really just Room of Consequence could really just be certain programs in the Imagination Station.
that's very true.
Shoot,
Except,
now,
didn't they go in it like on the TV show and it actually was like a room? Just like a gray room?
yeah, that's what
Yes.
it was in the TV. That was what it was in the cartoon.
For those of you asking, we'll get to the Odyssey cartoon someday.
They're not bad.
They're solid.
I
Except Connie doesn't show up till like the last few episodes because for some reason they didn't put her in.
Probably it had to do with like animation budgets and what voice actors were available.
Hold on. If we want to keep going, I'm looking through the episodes that has Imagination Station.
It's in the Twists and Turns album, I think.
Well, no, I'm just looking through all of them to see about adults.
Okay, so A Tongue of Fire. Jimmy Barkley records an embarrassing secret about Eugene and airs it on his kids' radio show.
Oh boy.
So
Wait, repeat that. Sorry, I was looking at
Jimmy Barkley
Jimmy Barkley. What?
records an embarrassing secret about Eugene and airs it on his kids' radio show.
Let's be fair. Maybe it's because I know several people who don't have their driver's license. And, like, nowadays, that's not a big deal.
Right.
And in a big city, it would not be a big deal.
Right. And I know Odyssey's a small town, so I guess it kind of makes sense, but
Yeah. It is a little weird.
oh yeah. Well,
Well, and I never like realized that this was an episode till like I don't know, like 5 years ago. But like when I was younger, listening to the next episode, like the License to Drive, I never realized like that there was this one like preceding it. So it makes
Yeah.
more sense now.
a nice little piece
Bernard.
of setup.
Bernard went into the Imagination Station.
Oh yeah.
And Bernard and Jeremiah.
Oh yeah, because that's one where the remote comes back.
That's the one, because, like, who is it, Marvin?
Yes.
Was like, he was like, I don't want to be told a story. We could just go into Imagination Station because it's so cool and futuristic. It's like, if you can name 3 of Joseph's brothers.
Oh,
Was that what it was?
I think so. Anyway,
Yeah.
back to the episode at hand. I'm of two minds about this lesson.
Okay. What is it?
So I'm going to set some people ablaze here. I do think there are some people out there who need to learn to take a joke. But what Jimmy did was unquestionably wrong.
Yeah.
So I appreciate the episode did that. Like, they gave you something where you couldn't really argue for Jimmy in this. Like, yeah, this isn't like, oh, he told a slightly off-color joke that made somebody upset, and now we have to deal with it.
Yeah, I just don't know if it had to be, oh, you can't drive. It was a little bit like,
Right.
I mean, he said it in, like, a cruel, mean way, but, like, that's not that embarrassing. But it's also kind of weird how, like, oh, no, it's because he failed it.
Right.
That's what the secret was. Okay, that's
I
a little
flunked it.
more. That's a little more reasonable.
Yes.
I forgot that he failed it in this episode. I just thought Jimmy said that. Oh.
And
Yeah,
then,
that makes more sense.
And then, this is the first Crying Brian Dern episode.
Wow.
I'm not positive, but there is something to be said. Brian Dern might get in trouble for some of the things he does on his shows.
I would agree with that.
Like, with the FCC, not just with, like, the radio station.
Yeah.
Because, like,
Yeah.
here's the thing. When Jimmy kind of asked the questions to Eugene, at least everything was in the right context. Brian Dern took a lot of that stuff and twisted it, and that might be slander.
Mm.
But I know it's so Jimmy can learn the lesson and everything, but...
Yeah.
Well, but Jimmy, like, secretly recorded Eugene.
Right, I know that. But I'm saying...
Oh, yeah, I get what you're saying.
I get it was to help Jimmy learn the lesson.
Yeah.
Also, is this like the first Eugene episode where he gets to deliver...
That's true.
Yeah, he doesn't... Well, especially at this point, because he wasn't a Christian, so...
Right. True. Anything else?
No.
Alright. Okay, time for the all-time classic, A License to Drive. When Eugene needs help getting his driver's license, he turns to Connie for help.
This is a classic episode.
Yeah.
It's a top tier, for sure.
Left, right, right? No, left.
Has anyone... I don't know anyone who's ever actually done this in real life. It's kind of a weird joke to put in everything.
I made a joke. I made it a joke one. I think I was joking with someone. It might have been you or it might have been Mom, and she didn't get the joke.
Ah.
So she was like, "What?"
Honestly...
Put the key in the ignition. Repeat after me.
Right. Yeah, and you know that because they redo some of this when Connie teaches Jules how to drive. And then she and Buck crash the car into the side of Wits End.
Yeah.
Which, story for another time.
Which I liked their attempt at trying to recreate it and, like, bring back the old memories, but they really did it in a bad way.
Right. That is true.
Can we talk about the end? Because the whole explanation that, like, Eugene, you have to drive. Why? Do you want to deliver a baby? I would be like, well, I don't think you know how. Considering you know how to drive, and I don't want to crash on the way, then yeah, you drive,
And Eugene's
Connie.
probably read a book about delivering a baby, let's be honest.
Yeah. Like, to me, it's like, I get, like, Connie's the girl, but, like, it's still, like,
It's
I
like
would-
emergency.
if I was like, can he not drive a car? I'd be like, you drive if you have the ability to drive the car. If I was
Yeah.
like the father of the child, like, you know, be like, I want to make sure the person can actually get to the hospital without crashing.
That is true. Yeah, I didn't think... I mean,
Yeah.
I get... There were many other high-stakes scenarios, but hey, it was the voice of Chris, so...
I remember that.
I will say, though, my favorite joke's kind of an overlooked one's the one about Mr. LaGrange's Petunia garden.
I forgot about that part.
Actually...
I haven't heard this one in a long time, but I've listened to it a lot.
Oh, yeah. You see, I'd actually say all of Eugene's description of his bad driving test, because to me, sometimes describing what happened can be funnier, because the audience can make it up. It's like the scene in Seinfeld where Kramer has to fight a bus mugger, or in the episode of Arthur where EW gets the whistle and Binky said, I got in trouble because she said I shouldn't talk to strangers. Just not showing that scene can sometimes play out funnier. Also, prop to the episode, we do not have a subplot about Connie getting power hungry.
I know, that is good.
Like, oh, yeah, she teaches Eugene, and there's something to be said about maybe the key thing is, like, her toying with him a bit, but we never, like, get scenes where Connie's just insane. Also, why you would use garbage cans with glass. Actually, question, did anyone have to learn how to parallel park for their driving test?
No. I think in a bigger city you might.
Well, now it's like 3-point turns is what you have to do.
Exactly.
I'm trying, maybe?
Which I'm
If-
terrible at.
If they told me to parallel park, they gave me a huge range to do it in.
Right, well, yeah, because we didn't live in a big city, so there was never really an issue.
Yeah, I think it depends on where you take it. Like, I'm assuming if you live in, like, Chicago, New York, they might have you do that.
Right.
But now it's kind of like, you probably won't need it.
Oh, yeah. Alright, are we ready for one of the more controversial episodes?
Yeah.
Give it to me.
Father's Day. Connie's father surprises her by visiting Odyssey and brings even more surprises. Okay, controversial is the wrong word, but...
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute.
I mean, it's the weird, let's try to have a kooky thing to get my parents together. And I get, like, it's probably a real emotion they feel like, but the fact they somehow got Eugene part of it, like, doesn't Eugene like wear a mustache
Yes.
and like talk in an Italian accent? Like, I don't even get how that happened.
I don't know.
Like, the fact that Eugene didn't put a stop to it was kind of weird.
Right, and
Well, they started helping each other after the last episode.
yeah, that's a good way to
True.
look at it.
But it's still a little bit like,
Yeah.
it feels a little weird that, here's the thing, it's one thing to set them up, like, be like, oh, go to dinner, and then maybe Connie's like, oh, I can't make it, you two have it by yourself. But to be like, I'm gonna recreate the old restaurant we used to go to.
Yes, that was weird. And, listening to it again, Whit probably could have pumped the brakes a little bit, but he also didn't know Bill was married already.
Yeah.
Also, this does start the trend of Connie's father is a horrible person.
Yeah. And they don't have that many. Wasn't there one semi-redeeming episode?
Not
Or am
really. Like, the one
Okay.
where Connie's grandma dies, we sort of get a moment, but even then it's kind of...
Yeah, it's pretty like, I will not have happy songs at my mother's funeral. It was like, what?
Oh, yeah. Well, no, and because here's the thing. When people talk about bad dads in fiction, Connie's dad always pops to my head because he's very realistically written.
Yeah.
Like, he's not the Homer Simpson bad, where it's like, oh, some of this is just cartoony. It's like, oh, I know people like this. This is scary.
Yeah.
And wait, is this the woman he has Jules with, or is that somebody else?
No. Wait.
Oh,
I don't think it's anyone we know.
No, this is April, and then he had May.
Yeah.
Yes. Speaking of Jules, I think her voice actor is married and is 17 based on the math I did.
What?
The podcast,
What?
our podcast page follows her on Instagram, and she's definitely married. The wiki confirms this, but I think she's 17.
Okay, what's her name?
Shona Kennedy.
Leah, I'm surprised you know that off the top of your head.
Okay, it's because that year for getting the show, I was like so convinced that I was gonna do it, and then I didn't do it in time. So I watched like the whole live show of her winning, and I like memorized her name. Like, I don't know how I remember that. It's just a very memorable name.
That is true. If they ever do another get on the show contest, we should enter to be like a group of
Okay,
podcasters.
well, I think she's 18.
Not based on the math I did.
Well,
She was 12 when she won in 2012, so...
6
hold
years ago.
on.
Yeah, 6 years ago would make her
18.
18.
Sorry, everyone. I feel like we have had a little detour from the actual discussion here.
Oh my god.
I mean, I'm just 18 and 17 is kind of a big difference.
Yeah, well.
Okay, so the reason I got down this rabbit hole in the first place, I was curious what Grayson, the other Get in the Show contest winner, had recorded. Because
Nothing.
well, because after the whole Jules thing, I'm a little surprised they did the contest again.
Well, they did it, but they didn't guarantee an episode. With Jules, they guaranteed at least one episode, but with the
Right.
most recent one, they said they could be in the live show on the cruise.
Right, because here's the thing. One, I know Shona's was apparently like a really professional voice actress, and the actors on the show said that. Also, you don't drop a bomb like Connie has a half-sister and not have her come back.
Yeah, I think they had legitimate plans for, like, that Get in the Show contest thing.
Right, but it's... Yeah, although, other fun fact about a contest, they did that write in an episode contest?
Yeah.
They're not doing that episode because it contradicts some stuff coming up in the canon.
That's so lame.
And it was
Then
called...
why pick it?
Well, it was called A J in the Life, so...
I remember that, and I remembered I wanted to see it, but that's so weird. Like,
Yeah, hey,
then
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
then just have it be like a club episode.
Yeah, actually, hey, Odyssey people who definitely listen to this podcast, can you please put the script on the website or something?
Like that would be sad. Like, oh, I won. Oh, you're not making it. Or was it? I thought that was a long time ago. Wasn't it because he was originally leaving?
You're right. It was before Jay left the first time, but they didn't record it because of other reasons they didn't divulge. But
Okay.
so anyway, back to the episode and Connie's father. Okay, so the scene with Whit and the socks at the beginning is kind of hilarious, but I like how they paint Connie's mom as she's accepted the situation, but still is very hurt by it.
Because that's very real, too.
Right, well, because I feel like a lot of times they write divorcee moms as like, I'm completely over this and nothing will stand in my way. And, more power to you, I guess, but...
And it's an important, episode in Connie's whole, story throughout the whole show, because it's her, accepting the fact that, her parents aren't going to get back together. She's just kind of, I don't know if that makes sense, but,
Oh, no, you're definitely right.
She's just realizing, she's not hoping for something and being so, buried in hate or whatever.
Right. I totally agree. Alrighty, is that it for this episode, or?
Yeah.
Alrighty. Harlow Doyle, Private Eye. Harlow Doyle, Private Eye, opens an office in Odyssey, and his first big case is to help Jessie find her lost faith.
I feel like this is I feel like this is setting a bad precedent.
In what sense?
I feel like the first episode shouldn't have been something so abstract.
Well, I think
I get, that's the point, but he's actually running a real business, and he's like, oh, well, you don't have any money, I'll just do it for free. I mean, I get he's supposed to be a joke character. I get he was supposed to be the,
Officer.
What was it?
Harley.
Harley? Yeah, Harley. I get it was supposed to be an Officer Harley replacement, and they were trying to set the tone this character is not serious at all. You don't have to worry about kids getting confused. I feel like maybe they went a little too... I mean, I like the character, but
right.
Just for a first intro, I don't know. It's just kind of...
Well, I will say, have you heard the fan theory that Officer Harley and Harlow Doyle are the same person?
I have, and I fully could believe it, especially with the end when Whit's I feel like I've seen you somewhere before, and he's like, well, I've been somewhere before. I actually would 100% buy that it's the same person.
It would be kind of funny if one day they just flat out say it, but...
I mean, here's the thing. It's not a bad theory. It's just kind of weird. Maybe he won the lottery, and it's I'm just going to be a private investigator now. I don't know. It's just kind of weird.
I mean, I don't know.
I think the episode's funny, except it's weird how... I do like the accusation at the end, though.
Yes, that was hilarious.
Where it's is this person? And Whit's in the back, explain why it's wrong. And he's oh.
Honestly, I wish more Harlow Doyle episodes ended that way.
Yeah, I guess because in later episodes he actually does try to do some. Actually, does he ever? He has the episode where I always forget his
Rodney
name.
loses the camera.
Well, that one, the one where what's the one with the Barclays friend Lawrence?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where he gets Harlow Doyle to help investigate that one counterfeiting thing.
Oh yeah.
But that was more a kid being come with me.
Well, that was when they were having fun together, and then that just sort of happened.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It was just, I feel, part of me wishes they maybe had increased the silliness as it had gone along. I get they were trying to avoid it by being he's silly right out the gate, but it's just always kind of weird to me.
Although, speaking of Harlow Doyle, our podcast is now brought to you by Pop-Tarts TM. Pop-Tarts TM. We're not toaster strudel, and we're all happier for it.
Does he say that in the episode?
There's an episode later on where you can eat Pop-Tarts TM anytime.
Does he say TM? I remember the Pop-Tart bit.
Yes, he does.
Wait, what was who was it with? Because I remember that.
They were like interning with him. I don't remember the episode. It was like one of those career day things.
Hold on, and I'll look it up, but you guys keep talking about the episode.
But a strong episode about like how sometimes you can lose sight of your faith. It's honestly, the private eye aspect of like him going from place to place, figuring it out, does sort of work.
Oh, no, that's the Connie episode, where it's like, what are you gonna do with your life?
Oh, you're right.
Oh my gosh, that.
Now I can eat. I have the quote here. Now I can eat my breakfast. It's nearly time for dinner. Hey, you can eat Pop-Tarts TM any time of the day.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's a good episode. This one I think it was kind of forgettable. For me, at least.
The Midnight Ride. Whit tells the story of Paul Revere, his famous ride, and the shot heard round the world. I mean, fine history episode, I guess.
Yeah.
Leah, you sound like you have some thoughts.
Well, I will just say this. No one hate me for this, but I've never been a huge fan of the, like, historical Odyssey episodes.
I'm a fan of some of them.
I mean, they are hit or miss. Because, like, some of them are, like, way too serious, and some of them are, like, way too goofy.
Right. There's, like, not a good in-between.
I kept thinking... Yeah, that's usually the problem. It really depends on how they portray characters, and usually the kid that's involved.
Right. And, you know, since this one's a one-parter, I think that helps.
Well, some of the early ones I actually think, even like the ones that aren't great, are slightly better. Because, I mean, as they went on, they're just like, history episodes can be 3 parts for not great reasons. Or 4 parts in some cases, as in the Jubilee Singers.
Oh my, you're
Or
right.
Start in New York. Wasn't that one really long?
That was 4 episodes
Yeah.
as well.
Was Jubilee 4 or 3?
Jubilee
I think
was
Jubilee
4.
was 3.
I'm pretty sure it was,
It was
4.
4?
I thought
I thought
so.
that was the first. It was that or Sergeant York. Here's the problem.
No, because Jubilee Singers was their first album back after that hiatus, and I thought it was weird they had a 4-part history episode in it.
Here, I will check.
I'm looking right now.
We're all checking.
It is... Okay, it's 3 parts.
Okay, even then, it's weird to have it back the first time. And, like, I feel like it would have been a great 2-part episode. But it's... And, like, it's weird because there's no kid in it. It's fully the story.
True. Too true. But I like the debunking of some history myths. I always appreciate that. So, anything else we want to say?
No.
Alrighty.
No. Next!
Treasure hunt. Things get out of control when Isaac and Eugene join in a charitable treasure hunt that also includes some very realistic-looking water pistols.
I think this is, I mean, weird message. I think it's a funny episode.
There's a lot to enjoy about it for sure.
Yeah.
The weird callback of the robber returning to Odyssey.
Yeah.
I mean, how did that happen?
I don't know.
Also the fact that, like, the clues were so hard.
Right, well, here's the one thing. I don't know what the clue they found that led them to Tom Riley's barn was supposed to lead them to, but why would they make a clue that sounds so similar to where the actual treasure is hidden?
What was that clue?
Finding the next clue might be torture. It may be the apple of your eye under a bushel in a barrel. All you have to do is try.
Yeah, Apple of Eye does kind of think of,
Well,
like, the local apple orchard.
Yeah, exactly.
And even, like, more like, yeah, barrel or bushel. It's more like, oh.
I totally agree.
Yeah. And because it wasn't that far, was it?
No, it was not. There was like 3 clues left, so... Oh, the other thing is when Isaac shows up at Tom Riley's farm and, like, confronts the burglar who has a gun... One, I'm glad they didn't have him shoot him, but, when Isaac catch on...
Yeah. I don't know. I think they were supposed to be hyped up on adrenaline, but also... The fact that they don't, like, cancel the contest because there's like they know someone had just with all these kids running around with like water pistol guns, and they don't like.
Well, remember, it happens after the contest starts.
Still, how far away was this? Because he gets there pretty darn quick.
Right. Maybe they didn't know he was trying to go to Odyssey, but yeah, I can see what you mean. But again, one of my favorite Odyssey lines, it's that gun. All of a sudden he thinks he's Rambo. In reference to Eugene.
True.
Although, again, and also, the episode calls Eugene out for his plan being kind of stupid. Yeah.
What was his plan again?
So, they think he's gonna run in and, like, try to shoot him with a fake gun, but he goes in with a dog whistle to scare the horse.
That is kind of dumb.
Right, well, like, Whit even says, that was super foolish, and da-da-da-da-da. So...
Probably so no kids would try it.
True. Oh, yeah.
If I'm ever confronted by an armed robber, I'll bring my dog whistle and scare the horse. Happens in real life,
dog whistle.
but there was no horse.
Or a dog.
Yeah.
Play the predictable, but remember the dog. That's a Buck quote, everybody. Feud for thought. Eugene joins Bernard for a family reunion and uncovers a dark secret about his grandfather, Father Meltzner's past.
Oh boy.
This
is an entertaining episode.
Oh yeah, the Eugene Bernard pairing's always fun.
Yeah, and it's just, I mean, even crazier that they're related, but...
Right. So, does anyone remember how this episode ends?
It was like...
Well, it was really like... Wait. Bernard's, like, side of the family was guilty, not Eugene's side, isn't that?
No, it was...
Like...
Eugene's grandfather had a bad lisp. So when he called in to make the paper, they wrote it down wrong.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Now, that still doesn't really excuse the whole he skips town thing, but...
Here's the thing. First off, though, the fact he's like, that was a lot of money in my day, and he never bothered to, like, check.
True.
You know? Like, just like... Because he says that it was a lot of money in his day, and, like, that's a lot of animals. I would be like, shouldn't I go check this?
Oh, yeah.
Like, it was so kind of like, I don't know. And, like, the fact he never got it in writing, just over the phone, because he would have seen the problem in writing.
Right. Timmy's cabin. Philip Glossman arrives in Odyssey, hoping to build a highway through Tom Riley's land.
And it's Johnny Appleseed's land.
Exactly.
Huh.
It's this episode. But again, they tied us into the Blackguard thing later, so props to them.
Yeah.
Wait, what was the tie-in again?
Glossman and the highway thing just come up a few times during that, so...
Okay. Okay, I didn't know if it was something more I was forgetting.
No. Alrighty.
Well, I don't have much to say, because it literally just feels like, oh no, they're gonna tear it down. What do we do? And then at the last minute, they're like, we found the mark of Johnny Appleseed.
Yes, as they're tearing it down, which...
Did they not realize that before?
I know. Here's the sad part. They kind of need to bring Glossman back right now to comment on our current political climate. I mean, Glossman basically gets a highway approved under the radar. He made a racist comment a few albums ago.
Glossman is Glossman. He's never won, has he?
Is this the first time we know about Timmy, or...
I don't. Tom... Is it Tom Walton?
Riley.
No, it's Bernard Walton. Tom... Wait, what's Tom's last name?
Riley.
Okay. Sorry. Tim Riley.
Timmy Riley.
Well, Tim, it's gonna show up. If I say IOE. First episode was Timmy's cabin. But first episode mentions, where's your daddy?
Okay, so there you go.
Whoa. Where was he mentioned in that episode?
Yeah.
Oh, because he gives them the bike.
Okay.
He gives the kid Timmy's old bike.
All right, wonderful. I mean, there's fun to be had here. The whole Deus Ex Machina of them finding it, then it turns out that dude might be like Johnny Appleseed's ancestor, or just Johnny Appleseed himself was a little strange. I do like how they go for the whole Chapman thing, because his name, Johnny Appleseed's real name was John Chapman.
Wait, I didn't know Tom was married twice.
I don't think he was.
I'm not. Adventures in Odyssey.
He was.
Apparently, his first wife died of cancer.
Yeah.
And
that
then
was Agnes's first
then
husband.
he married then he married Agnes. But I thought I don't.
I guess
I
Tom
don't
has just
quite
been Ned Flanders of the
remember
Odyssey universe.
Oh. That's surprising because I don't remember where they mentioned. Maybe could it be family portraits? I don't
Maybe.
know.
That could very well be it.
I will do.
Or was it like the Pact episode? I don't know. I'm trying to think.
It wouldn't have been the Pact. No, maybe it would have been. This is such a weird plot.
Well, I feel like maybe mentioned. I don't know. I do remember that he had like a wife before Agnes.
Okay.
I'm looking at. It's just I don't like. There's not even a page about her.
It was probably like one of those.
Apparently that's who they had. That's like Timmy's mom. Is this? I'd probably mention her like in passing.
But then there's an episode where Agnes sets a plate for Timmy because her memory's going.
Yeah, that's why I'm a little
So
iffy about this whole thing.
we will do some research on this. What were you saying, Leah?
I wasn't saying anything, but I am looking it up right now. More stuff about it.
So we will dig into this. If you guys want to help us out in the comments, that would be very much appreciated.
Oh, was it because she met like Agnes was married before, and I think they said they both died of cancer.
That could be it.
Before was her stepson who died in a tragedy before she married Tom.
Okay.
I don't know because that is weird. Yeah. Okay, let's keep going.
Alrighty. Well, that wraps up this episode. Join us next week when we'll do Album 15, A Place of Wonder. But we're going to rate this album first.
Can I just say that someone should figure out what episode the dead Mrs. Riley is mentioned in, because Agnes's first husband, Wilbur Lee, has a page, and the whole page is literally history. At one point, Wilbur owned a garden in his backyard, is all his history, and then death. Wilbur died of cancer. Family, Wilbur was Agnes Riley's first husband, and that's the whole page.
Okay. Well, let's see.
Someone find out what episode
Timothy's
Mrs. Riley is saying.
mom was not Agnes.
Right, it wasn't. But
this
so
may be mentioned in
hold on. Here's what it says. Agnes married Thomas Riley after her first husband, Wilbur Lee, died. Timmy was her stepson who died in a tragic accident before she married Tom. And then they decided to have a kid. They never had success. And when she found out she was unable to have children, it affected her deeply to the point of mental illness. Which I don't specifically remember that being the full reason, but it is possible that is the full reason. But yeah, that makes the whole thing where he... Oh, and line is... And sometimes believed Timmy was alive even though she never met him.
Oh my.
So, like, this is just a Adventures in Odyssey wiki page, and that seems incredibly odd to just say, unless in the episode they literally said you never met him.
Right.
Yeah, well, because she mentions, like, setting the place for him. But he died, like, 30 years before Tom married Agnes.
I don't think
Was
it
it
was
30
years.
years?
Yeah, that's what the Odyssey Scoop says.
But they still tried to have a kid. And that's
no,
implying
it
they
said-
would have had the kid at like 50. They were trying for a kid at 50.
Okay, wait. It said he died in a boating accident over 30 years ago before his father's second marriage. Okay.
There we. This is Tom. Their names are Tom and Agnes, not Abraham and Sarah.
Her last appearance,
Yeah, can we get
episode 571, For Better or For Worse, Part 2.
Agnes?
That's the wedding episode.
Yeah, because
That's
she
how,
tries to-
remember, Tom and Agnes get married again?
Oh, I was thinking like that's a Novacom episode, but we had the Pact.
No.
Now the
She
real.
was last mentioned in Silent Night.
Yeah, can we get Agnes to come back, please?
Well, Tom's dead.
Yeah,
That doesn't
so
mean Agnes
I'm
is dead.
assuming-
We can have a whole
I
episode of
feel like-
Agnes coming to terms with it.
That would be the most depressing Odyssey episode of all time. If it's like, it's like you find out Wit either started to go see Agnes or like has been going to see Agnes, and it's like, oh man, she can't remember that, doesn't understand that Tom's dead or something, or like something really. It have to be the most depressing episode they've done. Will.
You might be right. Hashtag bring Agnes and Joanne back. Oh, no, wait, because Jack's voice actor died. Bring Joanne back. And have, like,
And
Agnes and Joanne
died.
go on some adventure together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, can we get back to rating the album, or...
Yeah. 8.
I'll give it a 7.5.
I'm going to go with Leah and say an 8. Most of the episodes are solid, and even kind of the shaky ones are still pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's this episode. Next week is album 15. Alright, I'm Will.
I'm John.
I'm Leah.
We'll see you next week.